What's up, guys? I'm Brendan Graber. I'm with Megan Sullivan.
Hello.
We're playing Fire Emblem Fates Conquest Edition.
It's a mouthful.
It's a mouthful, and this is the generally the harder of the two paths. And I'm like chapter 11, so I'm kind of halfway through the game right now. And we're gonna talk about some of the big tips that you should know, whether you're just starting out playing or whether you're a Fire veteran. You're not sure what's new with this game. There's a lot that's changed, and there's a lot you should be aware of. So we're going to talk about that. First and foremost is, depending on which side you play as, you're either going to love or hate these guys, ninjas. And to a lesser extent, your personal butler and maid, who I have here, Felicia. And that's because of their items, the shurikens and daggers. They can lower an enemy's stats when they hit. And depending on what weapon they're using, it can be really, really useful. And if it's against you, it can be really, really infuriating.
Yeah, it sucks when it's against you.
Yeah, so like Felicia, her dagger will stat drop an enemy by -2 magic, -3 defense, and -3 resistance. And so using her before you go into a big fight, like if I'm going to go with all these guys, let's see if I can get her over there. No, hang on. Let's move. This is what I've been doing for a lot of my time with these two.
Now, explain what you're doing with the pinkish red there, so that the audience knows what you're.
Another big tip is if you press X, you can see the movement range of all the enemies. And in this chapter, it's kind of, it's the entire box because it's very different kind of chapter. But usually, you'll see like these guys, there's some gaps right here. This means that if I go in through stairs, like where I'm right now, I'm fine from their attack range. So I know that I'm going to be safe moving my units in here. And if you use that... Gotta move them off the stairs. So if you kind of use that with also tapping on the enemy and getting this red, you can kind of see where, okay, so this back unit here won't be able to attack if I move right here, but these two will. And then... she only has a very limited range because she's defending an area. So that's really important because you kind of want to know at all times where the range of things are coming from, especially if you have units that are weak against a certain type. Like if I brought, Camilla, who is a Wyvern Rider, I can see if I look up here, they all have red exclamation points because their arrows do mega damage to flying units.
Yes.
So I don't want her anywhere beyond this point right here.
Yeah, don't do that. I like that the game too makes it really easy to understand that. Like you couldn't possibly.
You will
miss
die
that.
with this character. So going back really quickly to the wonderful world of maids and hidden weapons, I'm going to wait right here, let them come attack, and you notice that she can't do any damage. She does 0 damage, right?
Yeah.
But that's fine because she's still hitting. Oh no, you're gonna kill him, Corin. Never mind
Corin,
that.
thanks for ruining it.
So even though she was doing 0 damage, if she had hit him, that would still trigger a debuff, and he would take even more damage the next turn. So sometimes what I do is when I go into a battle with a character, I will have her go up first with Corin maybe right behind. I would attack. She would deal her minuscule damage. He would get debuffed. Then I would follow up with Corin to go in for the finisher, doing much more damage than he would normally.
Now, what's interesting, though, is there is a little bit of risk because that unit that she just went up against had a superior weapon. So there's a weapon triangle in the game.
Yeah.
Where I believe it's swords and tomes are over axes/clubs, and bows. Bows are over spears, and spears are over swords.
And spears with
and hidden weapons.
They've kind of molded them all into one big triangle where they used to be their own in different thing. Like magic used to have its own triangle. Now magic is just one different thing called magic.
Yeah, it's tome swords.
But yeah, definitely. And then definitely if you're in Conquest, you're going to be going up against these guys a lot. So what I try and do is I try and lure them as best I can and have a heavy hitter just come in and take them out in one hit. Like Effie is my knight, and I use her so much and just kind of pairing up to make sure that she would take him out before they got a chance to go in and start debuffing my units.
Right.
So definitely be aware of ninjas and use your butler/maid to their fullest potential to kind of weaken up things. The other big thing I noticed is that literally everything matters in this game, especially in Conquest. For instance, Silas here, he has a fun ability called Elbow Room, which deals 3 damage when fighting in a space with no terrain effects. You may often forget some of these personal skills that they have until time comes when you're attacking, where right now he's in the stairs, and
Right.
while it gives him plus 10 to his like avoid rating, it lowers his damage because he's not in an open field. So if I'm fighting someone next to a stairs, you can go over here and you'll be doing like maybe like 15 damage. You attack from here, suddenly you're doing like 18 damage, and that can make the huge difference. And there's also because of the way you can dual guard and dual guarding and dual attacking, who you're paired up with can also be a big thing. So I'm gonna have them all kind of be in a row here. And now say when these guys come to attack, when it's my turn, so he's going for Felicia, who is thankfully going to debuff and not get her butt kicked. When it's my turn to attack, I'm good. I have. He's not dead yet. So this kind of goes hand in hand with the new system of the dual attacking, which is now called attack stance, versus pairing up, which is now called guard stance.
Yeah.
You find me too.
You know what's interesting as well is enemies can now pair up.
Yeah. So you notice these guys are also attacking side by side. So we're all debuffed because they have an ability called Seal Resistance, which is they reduce the enemy resistance by 6 after combat. So you always want to check out what stats an enemy has, because a lot of these units they would be your units if you were on the other side of the game, but since you're not, they're your enemies, and they still come with their personal skills. So when you're dual striking, you can choose. You notice that she does 9 times 2. She's double attacking, plus the 10 that's coming from me. If I press R, I can choose it to be someone else.
And then her attack goes up another 3 points.
Yeah, because Camilla does so much more damage than my character currently. So if you have, say, a healer next to you who is very useful for backing up behind you and healing, they won't do any damage because they don't have any attack weapons.
Right.
So you kind of want to make sure that if you have multiple people next to you who are adjacent, you can swap between them to kind of make sure that who's the best person for this job. And then similarly, you can see that they're also going to dual attack me because there's 2 of them next to me.
Right.
You can negate that, however, if I say pair up with Corrin, and he gets +2 strength and defense and resistance. Depending on who is pairing up, the stats change. So Silas is a cavalier, he's very strong, he gives me strength. If I had someone like Felicia, it may be more speed and luck. So now that I'm attacking, you notice that I only have 1 attack because I can't do dual attacks when I'm paired up, but neither can they. It says plus dash, and that means that when you're paired up, the person attacking you, their secondary person will never be able to hit you because you'll always be blocked from it. In addition to that, there's a bunch of shield icons in the bottom left corner below the HP. And as I attack, you see that 2 shields appear.
2 shields appear.
And as you get attacked, 2 shields appeared. And once you get a full lit up shield thing of like 10 of them, the next attack will always be blocked by your support unit, no matter what. And that can be extremely useful if you know when to get that up and then go into engage an enemy. You can negate a giant damaging blow that would normally kill you. It's also worth to note when other units are doing it too, like these units here, they all are paired up as well. So not only did they get the stat boosts, you can see his speed is 19 because he's paired up versus +4. He's also going to be building up his shields. So I've had points where I'll be on the attack doing pretty good, and then they'll block the next attack no matter what I do. And there's nothing I can do about it, so sometimes what I'll try and do is I will bait them with a smaller unit like Felicia, who I know won't do any damage, but that's fine, it's going to get blocked anyway. And then I follow with a big heavy hitter once their guard's down. Another big thing, which is kind of outside this battle, is especially on the side of Nor, where everything counts and you can't really grind in between chapters, you kind of want the best stats going in. And in my castle, there is a building you can build called the Mess Hall, and you can use that along with the herb, the food that you grow in your castle, to make food for your army, and that gives them a stat boost to everybody who eats it. And usually if it's like 1 ingredient, that's like half of your army, and you can combine ingredients to feed the entire army. And there's also, depending on who makes the food, you get an additional stat boost. And this can be really huge going into battle. If you have the right person on your team cooking, you can potentially buff up your team a lot more than they would be normally. They might actually have it here. I can't remember if I actually ate any food. Status for... Yeah, so you can see...
+2 meal.
So everybody, or at least half my team, so he didn't get it, but she got it. She got it as well. So sometimes, like, the unit, their flair may make it so only females get the stat boost, which is really useful in this case because I'm going to go up against later against the same magic users. Having resistance is really going to help me out there. So definitely, it's really easy to get food in this game, especially if you just spot pass and visit someone else's castle. It's definitely worth it your while if you just want to make food before every battle you go off on, because why not have that extra stat boost if you can make it? And to that effect, you really want to make the most of your castle because there are more things like just talking.
You talk to people.
You talk to units. You gain support by going to your treehouse and inviting people over. And these are things that you normally wouldn't be able to do otherwise, or you have to be very careful. Like the way I have these supports going on and people fighting against each other, you really don't have a lot of opportunity outside the battles, so everything counts. If I want Corrin and Silas to gain more reputation and support, I have to make sure that they're constantly fighting side by side. And this really works because Silas has an ability that is triggered by having Corrin with him. So you kind of want to make sure who jives with who. And if you're in a situation like when you're playing Conquest, is you want to plan like 10 steps ahead and go, okay, you know, I want them. You can see Silas right here. He has the Vow of Friendship. He grants +3 damage and -3 damage if the ally main character has less than half of health. So, and in some cases, it's actually worth it to take some few damage because you want Silas to buff up. And the same thing for supports and getting kids. You kind of want to make sure that every guy potentially has a girlfriend. For me, it's Effie and Arthur in the beginning because they jive really well together. They're both really big fighters.
Right.
And they'll eventually have a kid. Arthur will have a kid named Percy, and he'll gain some of Effie's boost. So I want to make sure in the first bunch of chapters that they're constantly fighting together. And that can be as simple as just having them side by side or having them paired up. And you'll see that even if he's taking damage, they're able to work really well. And they're getting more and more stat boosts from each other. The more hit rates, more crit rates. And that's very, very important. Have you noticed that in Hoshido at all?
Oh, yeah. No, it's hugely important. And something else I noticed, a slight tangent, but one of the cool things about this game is that sometimes the game will recommend you take multiple weapons into battle, and you're like, well, why would I do that? But it makes a huge difference. So, for example, my samurai got isolated from my war party because of some stupid mistake that I had, and he was up against like a paladin or something who was going to spear him right through. So between his Vantage skill, which kicks in when he's under 50% health, and the fact that I had a dual katana, which sort of negates his spear, that really helped me. So every move does count in Birthright as well. I think that the difference between Conquest and Birthright is you have more opportunities to strengthen your support ranks because you can level grind, and also you can just strengthen your troops all together by going constantly into battle. You
definitely always want to know when it's better to do the pair up and when it's better to do the attack stance. So you can see, like, you know, he's right here. If I attack with my hand axe, she gets to attack too. And then I can, if he was at full health, I could do 2 attacks, move her up. They're still adjacent. That's 2 more attacks. Whereas if I'm right here, I get only 1 attack.
Right.
And then, like, usually if I get outnumbered, that's when I'm going to go, okay, one of these guys is not going to be able to survive all these attacks. Let's pair up and get extra strength and extra speed and all that stuff. And that way, that if they're all coming at me, they can't dual attack me, and that's less damage I'm taking in the long run. Another thing to note is, I don't know if I have any on me. You know, probably Corrin. Corrin has the ability to get from the convoy, which is your items, which can be really useful, especially if you have a lot of vulneraries or elixirs. Or right here I have some master seals and heart seals, and seals have kind of taken on a new form in this game, where you still have your master seal, where you can promote to a better rank when you get to level 10 with your basic class.
Right, your job class can evolve into something with extra perks and abilities.
Yeah.
And better stats.
new to this game, though, is a bunch of other seals, like the
Yes,
Heart
Heart
Seal,
Seal.
which can change you kind of laterally based on your personality. And every character in this game has a secondary class, one that they don't outright tell you, but if I wanted to use it, and I want to take it. So for Corrin, they actually ask you at the beginning of the game what it is, and then you'll be able to, like, if you want to say, like, I want my secondary characteristic to be Dragon, and then if you use the Heart Seal, you can change it to a Wyvern Fighter. And everyone has that kind of thing. And unlike the Master Seal, you're not promoting to a upgraded class. You're kind of moving to the side, especially if you're promoted. You would move to a different promoted unit, but you would also be able to get the skills from that base class. So if
so you don't lose skills.
Yeah, you never lose skills, because if you see I have 3 right here, and you'll be able to learn more and then swap them out. Besides your personal skill is the one that always stays with you, the main one. But then, like, if I get him to rank, I upgrade him to his next rank, and then I use a Heart Seal, and he becomes a Swordmaster, let's say.
Right.
He's actually going to be learning Swordmaster skills as well as the Samurai, which is the base class of that. So he's at level 16 or 17, he would get the next Samurai skill. Level 20, he would get the next Swordmaster skill. And this comes into play not only with the Heart Seals, but depending on who you're supporting, you can get Marriage Seals and Partner Seals, which allow you to reclass based on not just yours, but your buddies' main classes and their secondary classes. So if I were to marry Felicia, I could probably transform into a Troubadour, a healing class. Or if I got an A rank support with Silas, I could buddy seal into a Cavalier. And this is really important because you kind of want to map out, okay, what are a Cavalier's big skills, and do I want any of these? So you kind of make friendships based off of these choices. So everything really matters, and it's really worth it to kind of take into account when you should use seals and when it's best, like, okay, I have a bunch of skills from this class. I don't really need them anymore. I'm going to laterally swap over to this class and get a few of their skills now.
Yeah, it's a really cool system where everything counts and nothing is wasted. Like, you don't have to necessarily sacrifice one thing for the other anymore.
And you don't lose skills, especially like when you're promoting, you go back to level 1, but you're an increased class. But if you're doing a Heart Seal or whatever, you are staying the same level, but you're switching to a different class.
Right.
So you don't lose any skill points, you don't lose any stats. You just move over to a different one, and you start getting more skill points from that class. So those are kind of my big tips. There's a lot to take in, and a lot of it requires just experimenting. Save often, especially in Conquest, because you're going to make mistakes. Even with the best of intentions, it's really easy for something to go wrong. I've had multiple times where I'm like, okay, if I could just survive this one battle, I'll be okay, because then only one guy can kind of get to me in this point, and then my guy criticals and kills him, and another person comes up and kills me.
I've had that happen, especially in Lunatic mode, where we're like, what? And everything counts in that mode.
Yeah. So definitely, like I said, always be aware of where you're attacking from. Don't always just settle with, like, okay, I'm going to run up and attack, and that's it. Like, see what happens if you attack from different positions, or even if you just move someone up to be, like, right here, and maybe not even attack, just so they get that boost when they go up here to have that adjacent attack with them. Like, you don't always have to rush in and kill. Sometimes it's better to just place accordingly to have the best kind of support. So let us know if those tips were helpful, and if you have any other tips that you know when you're playing the game, let us know in the comments. And for all things in Fire Emblem, you're in the right place. It's at IGN.